Well, it's also more than that because the defenders only have so many consumables to use until they run out. No one's going to run back or redeploy to their Sunder to resupply unless it's right outside the door. Whereas the defenders, they can... Oh, and here comes a big push for the capture point. The defenders, they can bring fresh maxes, they can pull as many grenades as they want. And oh my goodness, there's so many grenades. I count at least 10 grenades going off at the screen at once, and it's the 4 maxes more than anything else that just wiped out the Miller force. They simply could not contend with the max push. And then it just becomes an avalanche. That one little inkling, and then it's just game over.
Connery's small squad hack of Isotech Plant has turned into a large platoon or more force sitting on the tech plant. Passionate is in this TeamSpeak in the AFK channel as well. I don't know if you need to give him permission to get up here. The SCU is now compromised at Isotech Plant, and they... I'm trying to see if they're going to try and go for that right now.
If you could, Passionate.
So there's a difference of 10 players between the two factions as of now, and Connery started with around
hold on.
That doesn't really matter so much. What you need to do though is you need to whisper the force leaders and inform them of the times left. Because we can't do it in all calls in TeamSpeak, you basically need to inform the leaders how much time's left in the game.
Alright, I do that. I'm already doing it.
Okay. Alright, thank you.
So the Miller force, the tech plant, they're using their air force to bombard balconies. Clearing the balconies for... Doesn't look like they have infantry coming in the balcony though, so... Wonder why. Oh, they're on the ground floor trying to go into the balcony, to the vehicle bay. Which I'm going to have to speed through. Ooh, a little bit too fast. But Connery's got a PPA harasser on the balcony with a balcony firing line and a double Fury Sunder. This is terrible for Miller. I mean, they made a nearly last second clutch save on the tech plant before, but can they do it again? Oh, this is stressful.
There's also a large number of Reavers that are basically lining up like it's a buffet, trying to shoot into the balcony windows. They kind of fire.
Well, the defense at the balcony, at the double doors is, well, they're reinforcing now because they see the minimap, the number of NC that's coming in. It was lightly guarded.
And the SCU is tripped here as well. I'm going to see if that's
killing field for Connery against Miller at the moment. Miller forces are coming in, and it doesn't look like they're doing anything. As far as the balcony is concerned, are they on the balcony or are they... Yes, Miller has got some forces on the balcony, although it's very, very light. No maxes, no support. Looks like they're coming in from the roof, perhaps with beacons and what. They have another force trying to go into the vehicle bay. Looks like they've cleared up the first Sunder, and the harasser's still up in the PPA though on the gun deck. Oh, sorry, on the terminal for the vehicle deck. Extra Miller forces on the balcony, but the problem is they've just been rezzed. They've no shields and they've got half health. They're constantly being picked off by low and heavy assaults from the Connery force. And they're just not able to mobilize and try and get inside the capture point. Inside the actual tech plant itself, Connery still has himself an effective hold on the actual kind of upper gun platform. Well, I say gun platform because it's a large gun, but essentially the capture point platform. I am skeptical Miller can pull this off because they're at that point now where it takes longer to actually run to the capture point than what Miller can actually pull off. With 25 seconds left.
This is not a matter of miscommunication. There were 60% population of Miller NC at this base. They knew what they had to do here. They just couldn't get through the door.
With 17 seconds, when you hit the 10-second marker, they can't run to the point in time. It's that simple. You retimed this. And that's it. You know, Connery gets the base. I don't care what it says. I mean, there's too many people on the point, and Miller simply cannot run to the point in time. And this makes it a 7-minute base flip now for Miller. That's exceptionally well done by Connery. So well done. They've been practicing. I don't think Connery wants to endure 3 losses in a row.
And you know, that was, I don't know who was there. I wasn't there at the beginning, but that was the classic tactic that many of the outfits on Connery do. They were outpopped at that tech plant for a significant portion of that battle, yet they know exactly where they need to put an engineer turret, where you need to peek around the corner, where you have to put the C4 to get the whole squad of people coming up the stairs, things like that. And they're so used to doing it, it's something that they do all the time on live. If I were Miller, knowing that I was facing people who love tech plants, who absolutely love doing what they just did, I would almost leave people as it's your job to go and clear certain things out.
Right.
They also managed to get vehicles back in there, and I didn't see if the vehicle terminals were allowed to be left open, which is another huge misstep on the tech plant battles in this game.
Yeah, the thing is, did the last person to come here blow them up, or did they just leave? And that's pretty tragic. I mean, Miller's trying to take Rime Analytics, but they're already flanked on the outside. The thing is, I don't see a Connery Air Force, right? So I'd like to see a better balance between Miller's Air Force and attempts to take bases, especially Rime Analytics, was extremely vulnerable to being bombarded from the air. This particular base, you can use the air to essentially keep the enemy air off you, the enemy armor off you, so you don't be claustrophobic. Because me personally, in playing the game, I have found that certain bases with the current resource system and the current grenade system, you don't want to stay inside the capture point like you did in the past. If you know that the enemy doesn't have air and you're safe from being essentially vehicle spammed, the best defense is not to be inside the capture point, it's to be outside, trying to contain the spawn room as best as you possibly can, or just holding those key choke points outside because you can spread out and the grenades are less effective. Because realistically speaking, it's the claustrophobia and the grenade bandoliers that really destroys large numbers of people on one capture point.
This is a critical moment for Miller at this point. The tech plant is not something they didn't manage to get their forces to a large enough population right at the end that they could do a reverse defense turning into an offense thing. So now attacking the tech plant, the enemy's going to see you coming. You need to repurpose your forces and try pushing somewhere else. You have at least 2 other lanes, really 3 other lanes with Rime and Aurora. Group your forces up and make a push. Give Connery multiple things that they have to deal with, and maybe you're going to get a breakthrough on a certain lane and be able to roll down somewhere.
If you have a look at Raw Material Labs, there's a lovely little... Just get a little cinematic shot here. Armored firing line, but I'm not entirely sure how effective it's going to be. Because they're basically AP. To Raw Material Labs, it doesn't really do much. Air would be better at containing the spawns from getting to the capture point.
Something that, we've seen a real light presence of Connery Air, which is completely different from how they usually play. And I think if I were Miller at this point, I would start rotating people who were dedicated to the air, maybe onto the ground. If you can get an extra squad or 2 somewhere down in the Ymir lane, and that helps you secure that southern reach cap, or if that gives you people who can sit on Rime Analytics that you didn't have before, that's what you want.
And Miller's lost the capture point at Raw Material Labs. They do have the banana building. Looks like they do have maxes. They are going to come in. Their Sunders are safe. They're not exposed to enemy air bombardment, so they are pushing hard back on the capture point. If we look at Raw Material Labs, actually they're outnumbered. The NC Force, Miller, is actually outnumbered here. I mean, they haven't even started the 4-minute base capture either. I mean, so Connery's been well warned in advance what's going on. And the attempted push into the capture point is repulsed. There's another Vanu force at the double building overlooking Banana and the walkway into capture point. So the Connery force has got Aurora pretty well locked down, and unfortunately this very nice and pretty NC Miller armor force on the hill is not doing anything.
Miller has decided that they do want to try and take the tech plant back immediately. And Connery has made the same mistake that Miller did. They have left a vehicle terminal inside for them to hack. I don't understand why these are left here, especially knowing as Connery what you just did.
The thing is, Miller's attempting to capture Isotech plant, but at the same time they're losing Echo Valley substation, which we're going to go there now. We're having a look at the kill board, and the gap is still relatively close. I mean, Connery is on about 11,600 kills currently in the game, and Miller is on about 10,600, so there's only about 1,000 kill difference. Very crudely effective, performance in terms of kills and deaths. If we have a look at the leaderboards, the outfit system hasn't really changed. Some things have moved around from when I looked at it last. Future Crew's still on top, followed by Recursion, no outfit, so there's a large number of people that are not in outfit. And maybe there's some kind of people with name tags. We look at the Veer. Oh my goodness. Top weapon kills, right? Orion, 2,600 is a very nice Miller Air Force currently going on. I do believe they've made a save. Yes, they have. They've made a save, but they had to bring in their Air Force to save Echo Valley Substation. Right, we'll go back to the tech plant and see what's going over there. Orion, 2,656 kills. That's the top weapon. Can you guess what the second weapon is?
A grenade.
It is a grenade. Anti-vehicle grenade, 1,455. Then comes the LA-1 Anchor. So the Anchor has half the kills compared to the Orion at the moment. I wonder if you go TR simply because you can have the Carve if you can't have the Orion. Or do you value the Anchor more?
I mean, the Anchor...
Oh, by the way, Connery just made a save on the tech plant. We were just watching that as you're saying. Please do go on.
The Anchor and the MSWR and the Orion are what are known as the competitive heavy assault weapons. For
you think? The MSWR? I thought the Carve would be better.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's personal preference. I've personally seen a lot of people in PAL and Community Clash use the MSWR, and I don't think stats have changed on the weapon, although I'm sure chat will tell me if it has. And I know people love the Orion a lot. I'm not entirely sure that what we're seeing is just the Orion being better than the Anchor. The Connery forces have managed to put themselves into positions where they are basically killing entire squads of Miller as they come through choke point doorways and things like that.
Right, well, I suppose there's another story to this, though.
Makes a huge deal.
The thing is, although the Orion has more than twice the kills of the Anchor, right, the story is that actually then comes the SVA-88 at 600, then comes C4 at nearly 630 kills. But the Jackhammer and the Gauze, they both have well over 500 kills. So it's the NC Force are using a mixture of weapons, perhaps for different scenarios. Close range, maybe go Jackhammer. Longer range, go Gauze or Anchor. It's like personal preference. Whereas the VS, default Orion, Orion, Orion.
Yeah, there's really no real other options to switch to. I mean, people have their preferences, flare and other guns on VS, but for the most part, especially since not all the people who are playing the faction right now main that faction normally, I'm sure they've just heard, oh, you go with Orion and that's all you use, whereas there are multiple options on NC that you might want to try for different scenarios.
Right, well the tech plant's almost fully saved. Hell, the Connery force could even, I think they're beginning to set up Sunders and armor. They're going to go for Ice and Mountain Pass. Connery smells blood. I think they realise that they can win this. The threat of them losing is gone, and they want to impact a big a defeat as they can on Connery. Because let's be clear about the rules. When we go into the championship match, i.e. the top two performing servers, it's first of all, did you get a win, but then it's how much did you win by. So it's one thing to say we got a win, but by winning a large margin will definitely help you if there's a tie.
Yes,
we see that now. Yeah,
it's like goal differential in the World Cup. If you can manage to get more territory percentage, it will help you in the long run. You might be able to even survive a loss. If your loss was a very close, almost a 51-49 kind of loss, if you manage to beat somebody by a significant number, and let's
be clear here, even if Miller loses, and they could theoretically bring this back with 27 minutes, there's definitely enough time, but if Miller was to lose today, it's not game over. They still have 2 games that they can make significant, comeback and change this around to get into the top spots. Because if they win their next 2 games, okay, they've lost against one team, Connery, but they could still be second place or first place depending how Connery plays with that team. So it's all to be seen.
Correct. This is the very beginning. This is, again, I mentioned the World Cup. People might freak out over that first game, but you can always come back and beat other people and still get higher up in the rankings of your own group.
Right. And just quickly go over the vehicle stats. They're not actually updating, but the Reaver, 1323. It's over 1,000 kills the Reaver. Then comes the Scythe at 750. Then the Sunders at 320. Galaxies at 320. So, Miller, I think, is using the Galaxies. Then Lightning, Liberator, Vanguard at 206, just kind of dropped down. The Valkyrie has 25 kills. The Valkyrie has 25 kills. The Valkyrie is better than the Flash. Confirmed. That has 23 kills.
I a squad of platoon from Miller running around in Valkyries. I saw them at Aurora Materials Lab earlier. They didn't have anything else. They had 3 Valks, and that's how they were dropping onto the board.
Wow, so that's why Miller lost, because they put all the resources into getting kills with the Valkyrie.
That's what we're going to go with, huh?
Well, currently the fight at Ice and Mountain Pass is ravaging on, but the problem is Connery has got himself in an extremely defensible position. Even though the capture point is on the ground floor of the double buildings, these two horrendous kind of choke bridgeways are just devastating against Miller. So the vehicles don't really count for much in Connery's favour. However, there's so many Sunders deployed, set up, repaired, that it's nigh impossible, even with... Well, I tell you what, there's no more Vanguards, so it'll be Mag Riders, so even Miller's going to have to come back to Lightnings if he wants to clear the ground. They're going to have to rely on airdrops, which is exactly what's just happened. That is a huge ask. One Miller squad on the roof, push its way to the ground floor. That's never going to happen. That's a huge amount of work. I mean, it's valiant, but it's a big ask. It's very hard to coordinate one squad with another squad to, how should I put this, grab, save the capture point. To one squad, let's say on the bridge, over, to the west, and another squad on the roof, and then pushing both at the same time. So that's difficult.
Yes. I mean, I think that, this is always a hard point in the match, where you're down and you know it's going to take a lot of effort to get back. We've only seen a couple of servers manage to kind of rally themselves and do big comebacks. Connery did it a little bit in both of their most recent matches, where they kind of managed to come off the ropes and take some territory. But it is a hard thing to do. You got to get everyone back up and thinking that they can actually manage to take territory.
Miller's trying. I mean, they are valiantly trying. They're doing what they can. They might actually have got... Oh, yeah, they've actually cleaned up the Sunders on the northern kind of garage. So they actually have got a spawn, and they are so tentatively close to the capture point. But Connery still has at least 4 maxes defending that capture point. In 20 seconds to go, there's a counter flank by Lashers on the upper gun platform, shooting the Miller force from behind. Connery is probably going to get this base. Miller had a nice attempt. They got a nice push, a little bit late. It's all going on, but I don't see any numbers for NC. They're not pushing from the spawn room. They're not pushing from that Sunder. And with a few seconds to go, that max kind of wall has got themselves the capture point. And another base falls from Miller and is taken by Connery. We're now at 56-37, and Connery's grip in this game has gone from tentative to just very firm and just pushing Miller back and back and back.
And Connery really doesn't need to push anything else. I mean, they can continue knocking up that many biolab lane, but Sierra listening is almost more of a danger for Connery at this point. It's going to take such a population sink that you might wind up losing stuff that you've already gotten. I think what you're going to see is little feint attacks. You're going to see 24 guys, 36 guys going somewhere without really the intention to capture somewhere, and just hang back. There's no real reason to take too much more territory from Connery's perspective.
Well, I would say keep going, be attack, attack, attack. Go for Echo Valley Substation. Go for Manny Lake. Those type of things. Taking Sierra Listening Post is going to be difficult. Taking Ymir Biolab, they haven't done it all game. And for the only thing in the south, I think the Connery force has just been defensive. But if we were to take a pause here at the combat while the Miller Air Force turns up a little bit late to kind of spam the ground for kills at Ice and Mountain Pass, this entire fight, at the beginning, Connery was decisive at Freyr Ramp and pushed up to Freyr. Miller got themselves the tech plant and they got themselves Ymir Biolab. But then after the beginning, after the first 30 minutes of the kind of chaotic kind of back and forth, maybe one base is going back and forth, Miller was able to take one base, ice and mining operations, and that was it, but they paid for it by a loss. And I'm correct in saying, but Connery has taken multiple bases after the beginning. So it just seems that, Connery's ability to attack or whatnot, or multiple bases, it just hasn't worked in Miller's favor.
The interesting thing is that opening was about as even as I've ever seen an opening go on Esmir. Both servers knew exactly where they had to push. Miller was dropping people exactly the way they needed to on Ice and Mining, and Connery knew they still had to counter it. They got that one sneaky guy back onto the point, and they managed to mess it up, and they got people back on Rhyme. And I think basically since those first 20 minutes, even though it was very even and they countered each other very well there, Connery has been better about using their forces to push the weak points that they needed to. And I can see plenty of weak points that Miller could be pushing on, whether it's up in the Manny lane, whether it's down in the Ymir lane, and they're not moving their forces around to do that. They seem fixated mostly on the middle of the map, and they haven't really moved a large number of forces down somewhere else to say, you know what, we tried the middle, let's go try something else now.
Well, the Connery force, they want Manny Lake. Miller's come up with a force of armor, but they've had to go back now to lightnings, AP lightnings, and repair sunders. They're trying to now. We got our first set of mag riders, but the problem is there's some AP maxes being extremely devastating on the hillside, being very difficult to hit. That's them finally coming off. Those were TRG maxes. At the same time, Miller's trying to pick off. Looks like they're fighting on two fronts. They're trying to fend off the mag riders, but at the same time, they're trying to pick off the sunders from Recursion on the western sunder location of Manny Lake. Now, there's plenty of armor for the NC, but if these lightnings were to turn around and just apply their firepower very briefly to the sunder, which has been out-repaired, they can't take it down. And slowly attrition is going to work into these Miller forces. They need to turn around, shoot the sunder, then they can go back and fight the vanguards. Sorry, the mag riders. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to pull off. And worse than that, all the lightnings are showing their rears. They're actually fighting this kind of AV max heavy assault force in this garage with their backside showing them. It doesn't make any sense.
There seems to be a large number of the NC Miller that are pushing the mountain pass, but there aren't any defending over at Echo Valley Substation. Maybe that they have a force on the way to save that at the last moment, and they still have that force up in Manny Biolab where, yeah, you would lose, losing Manny Lake Satellite, yes, it takes you down a little bit in the percentage, but if you could leave, say, 24 people with Scat Maxes at Manny Biolab, 24 people in Scat Maxes should be able to handle a lot of people at a Biolab. I would start moving whatever you have up there, maybe let them take Lake Satellite and move them somewhere else, try and get numbers somewhere that you can push on a weak lane down in the south. Heck, maybe go ahead and take Rhyme and try and get back into Prairie Ramp Station. Do something different than what you've been doing.
It's just one AP lightning, and he's really trying to kill the Recursion Sunder, but this isn't standard live play, and he's about to get attacked now by the rear by PP Harasser. Well, he's not going to attack the lightning, but the fact is he might queue it up for his Mag Rider friend to the side. Hey, Mag Rider, down here. Down here. No? Okay. Oh, did the guys try and jump out the Harasser? No, he's trying to block off the escape of the lightning. He's trying to ram him. It's Harasser's trying. What can I say? Has he got a gunner, or is he just by himself? It looks like he's just by himself.
Those lightnings are just getting absolutely destroyed by a couple of heavies with rocket launchers. They look like dumbfires, decimators or something. They killed 2 or 3 of them already.
Oh, I like this. The Harasser by Connery onto the roof, using its PPA-ness to defend the capture point. That's painful. Reinforcements dropping in from Miller. 25 seconds to go. They need to get inside and save this base. Oh my, see, there's a lot of explosives and grenades going off in the capture point. I can see more blue than I see purple. A lot of dead on the ground. Looks like they've made a last second save. Well, I say last 20 second save. The last 20 seconds takes a long time. Yeah, and I do believe that is an effective save now by the Miller forces on Manny Lake Satellite. Although the fact is that Sunder still alive for the Vanu? Nope, so the Sunder on the garage on the west side is down. It looks like there may be a reinforcement or a spare coming in. What other fights are going on the continent right now? I think Mountain Pass was under contention. Echo Valley, 30 seconds. They've got the capture point, they've got a lot of people. Miller's streaming in from the big staircase. They just need to keep running and running and running. The grenade spam, oh, they're already at the door of the capture point. Looks like most of the Connery forces are wounded and on the floor, either half health or no shields when they get res grenaded. Points under contention. Oh wait, no, it's back in Connery forces. 5 seconds to go. There's not enough Miller on the capture point. They need to run the capture point. Miller, what are you doing? 1 second to go. Is Connery gonna get the base? Oh my god, the Connery gets the base and I get a directive update. Oh my goodness. I got my 15 and 15 contested bases. Go objectives. Connery gets the base. I don't know if Miller dropped the ball there, but it seemed he had the capture point, but then for some reason it fell away. Oh, that's painful for Miller now. It's getting even worse. It's now 58 to 36.
I keep on looking to see if some of the reason why these bases are falling is because maybe they're massing somewhere else. I keep on expecting to see 96 plus down in the southern lane pushing out a nearby lab or something. I don't know where the population for Miller is gone. You know, Echo Valley should have been a relatively easy save, and you could almost use it as a leapfrog. You know, go and save that, and then just move your forces down to the south again. They seem really fixated on that Waterson's Redemption Ice and Tech Plant thing, and haven't really been able to focus on other parts of the map that they might be able to get more gains.
Yeah, it's painful. I hopefully Connery can take some pride out of this from their 2 defeats. One, you know, to Emerald a few weeks ago. It was a bit painful. Their game against Briggs, not to say that Briggs was lesser opposition, they did lose, but the fact is I felt they played better. But here today, you know, Miller is still decent opposition now. Esimir's a different kettle of fish in terms of how, you know, the gameplay mode works. But they are doing extremely good without necessarily a dominating air force. And I don't know if that'll work against them in future games, but they're doing very, very well, using their forces effectively where they need to be when they need to use them. Miller currently is trying again to take Ymir's southern reach, but this building is absolutely nuts to defend for 4 minutes. The large staircase and the ability to throw grenades, and the fact that the defending force usually clusters up inside the A capture point. Yeah, exactly. The chat, you can't see it right now, says ban grenades. It all comes down to grenade spam at the moment with the current resource system. But you have to play around that. I would counter and say you can't stay up the top of the staircase. You can't hold that kind of long range kind of shooting. You need to be down here at these doorways with your maxes. And I understand the doors or the teleporters are so close, but you need to try and keep the enemy away from the capture point as much as possible, and to spread your forces out as much as possible to mitigate the current grenade meta. And now we see a huge number of maxes and pushing from the Connery forces that, you know, Miller's air can't do anything about, because the run from one teleport building to the capture building is so close. Well, save there for Connery. Miller is outside. They do have their Sunder, but oh, there goes the last Sunder. There was some harasser forces there by Connery. Double Saurons. Okay, rest of the map. How long?